I think it's very similar to last year. They threw it a lot early, and they'll probably throw it more than people want early this year because they're trying to evolve. And generally, that's been the history of the Eagles in the Nick Sirianni era. They try to do some things early, and then they scale it back to what they do well.
Welcome in, everybody, to a game day edition of Birds 365. It's been a little while since we've had one of them, everybody. A great Thursday, and the NFL season kicks off today, and it's kicked off by the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys at home under the lights for the banner drop tonight. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning? It's game day, brother.
Game day, number one of 272. That's how many NFL games there are each year. The Eagles hope to be playing past 272, though, obviously, as the reigning Super Bowl champions. Thursday night. Everybody who knows I'm not in love with Thursday night games, but it's nice to be in the first one because that means you won the Super Bowl.
Yep, no doubt about it. And at home hosting it. All right. You don't want to use the word defending. I'm using defending. Sirianni's not getting to me, John. They're defending it in my
Got the Vic, man. You might as well give up. You got the Vic. If you got the Vic,
you can get to anybody. That's a good way to put it. Johnny Mac, we'll start with the injury report, kind of just give people the last update as we get ready for the game tonight. We are going to talk to Gary Cobb in the hour number one here. So we'll have G. Cobb, actually played for the Eagles and for the Cowboys in his professional career. So we'll talk to G. Cobb and preview the game with Gary. And then in hour number two, we'll dive into all the matchups in the game to watch for tonight. And we'll even take some chats from the great people of JAKIB Nation. So appreciate everybody being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button for us. Don't forget to drop your subscription to the channel. All right. And all of our new members, Pile Driver, becoming a member early today. Thank you, Pile Driver. We got 2 giveaways activated for the season. All right. For each game, 2 catalysts. So get your memberships in now. Every time Jalen Hurts goes over 275 all-purpose yards in a game, we will give away a jersey. And every time the defense gives up 20 or less points, we're giving away a jersey. And I don't know if they're going to do that very often, but we maybe should have made that a little higher, the 20 points. But
you scared me with the 275, and then you went all purpose. I went, 275. I was like, whoa, slow down.
But, 275. I think 275 all purpose is good, though, right? Rushing and passing.
Yeah, that's fine. That 225-50, that's fine. Yeah, I thought you were going 275 passing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, then you'd only get a couple jerseys. I want to give away more jerseys. But thanks, Pile Driver, for becoming a member. Anybody who's not a member and you want to become a member, do it now. You got to do it from your computer. I think the phones are kind of a hard time. But appreciate you being here, everybody. John, let's start with the injury report, man. Final one was put out today, or excuse me, yesterday. It was a walkthrough, so you weren't down there, but looks all good, man, on really both for the Cowboys and for the Eagles coming into this game.
Yeah, for the Eagles, the only somewhat concerning thing is Tanner McKee, but that's been evident for days now, really, a couple weeks, that he was not going to play early in the season. So Sam Howell's going to be your backup quarterback, which is not the best thing. But, the hope with the backup quarterback is he never has to play. So that happens. He just got here, I think, August 24th. So that would be a real difficult situation if he were forced to play. Then if you want an emergency quarterback, you have to elevate Kyle McCord from the practice squad. I don't know if they can do that because they probably want to elevate a safety, whether it's Marcus Epps or Andre Sam. They probably want to elevate Britton Covey to return punts. So we'll see how the Eagles handle that, though. Everybody else, most notably Landon Dickerson, is a go. So the best offensive line in football will be out there week 1. We'll see. I'm still a little bit of concern. Landon, we haven't even played a minute of real football, and he's already torn his meniscus to a certain degree, had a meniscus repair, and he had the back thing this week. So a little bit concerned about that, something to keep an eye on, but he's going to play. No surprise, toughest guy in the world. And as far as I'm concerned, he's going to play through anything you let him play through. And then, everybody else is a full go. Drew Makuba was dealing with a hamstring. He's good to go. Josh Uche dealing with a groin. He's good to go. Jalen Carter was a full participant every week, all week, but they did have him on the injury report with a shoulder issue. But obviously he's good to go. So almost 100% at week 1. Same thing with the Cowboys, though.
Yep. Trayvon and Tyler look like they're both going to play, and those were kind of the 2 guys in question.
Yeah. And even we talked to our buddy John Machota a little earlier. He didn't think Tyler Guyton was going to play. Evidently, they're going to give it a go, and that to me is one of the most interesting matchups tonight because you have a competent left tackle. I'd call him above average, and that makes things, to me, very interesting with Alex Hunt, who's trying to take that year 2 step, and big projections on him. And you're going to get a good feel right away on what you're going to get out of Alex Hunt, I believe. And maybe that wouldn't be the case if the backup was in there. So that's an interesting development. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs, Teron Bland, playmakers, man. But you can get them both ways because
you can
take chances.
I think they're going to have a tough night tonight. I know those are 2 good corners, but one of my early predictions for the game tonight is that the two star corners in Dallas are going to struggle a little bit, and that has everything to do with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith a lot more than it does with the Dallas cornerbacks. I don't think they can cover.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Eagles typically have an advantage with those 2 players, and I think that's the case. But I do worry about play at all together in training camp, basically. And I'm talking about the offense, the entire offense together. Right. So, and I think you look back last year, there might be some sloppy play. So I wouldn't get too hyper worked up about if you see some sloppy play tonight. The key is persevering and getting the win. But I do almost expect sloppy play from the offense. I do.
Yep. No, I kind of agree. I mean, they had 3 turnovers and won the game last year, John. It was a very ugly game.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the way they do it. They accomplished what they wanted to accomplish almost 100%. With the exception of Tanner McKee, get everybody to week 1 healthy, or at least healthy enough to play. And they did that. But you're gonna have some time that they need to get together, to have the chemistry, to be working on all cylinders. I don't see how you just replicate that. You just step on the field and replicate it. I don't know if that's possible.
No, it's going to be a journey, no doubt about it. I want to thank everybody for being here. We got people checking in early. Vulnerable Vitality with $20 to say, we made it. Yes, we did, Vitality. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate that very much. We'll get to all super chats today, but that's a good one there. I wanted to get to that. Vulnerable. Thank you, sir. John, what do you think they're going to do? What's your gut feeling on what they do at that quarterback spot? Do you think they elevate McCord, or do you think they go into the game with no emergency quarterback 3?
I mean, I if you're asking me, I would risk it. I mean, because of Jalen Hurts' durability and his, he plays the position smartly. He's not going to take huge hits. Now, I mean, he's had concussions. That happens. So, I'm not saying it's not possible. But my mentality is if you're down to the 3rd string quarterback, you're kind of screwed anyway. Yeah. So
if they don't have McCord, it might be, who would it be? Cooper DeJean?
Yeah, I mean, it's Saquon, maybe a lot of Wildcat, that type of thing. Yeah. It would be ugly. So, there's a reason you have an emergency quarterback, but the problem is the rule. You can't be an emergency quarterback unless you're on the 53.
Right.
So Kyle McCord is not on the 53. So the Eagles can't have an emergency quarterback unless they put him on the roster, which in theory they still could. So they would have to elevate him, and he would take up one of those 47 game day spots, which is fine. That part's not an issue. But if you elevate him more than, all right, you can't have the extra safety, or you can't have Britton returning punts. And again, you can one of the things with Vic Fangio, and I think this about Vic Fangio and Brian Flores specifically, Like everybody looks at numbers of labels, like you know me and labels. Like, well, you only have 3 safeties. Cooper can play safety. They think differently than you think.
Yeah, right.
Like they have all these versatile pieces that are labeled something because you have to label them something, but they can play different areas. So like you can get by a game without elevating Marcus Epps or Andre Sam. You could have, even if you don't want Cooper to return punts, because God forbid, you can have Jahan Dotson do it. So you can elevate Kyle McCord. It's just an interesting decision from the Eagles standpoint. What would you rather have? Would you rather have that very small insurance policy or a guy who might have to contribute in the game? That's basically what Howie's decision is.
We'll see what they end up doing with that tonight. John, Landon Dickerson, great story, but I am with you a little bit just in the sense of, it's a long season. I hope Landon's okay, but I got to default John here to the Eagles, and it's not in my nature to do this, but if there was any risk on him, I don't think he'd be out there. I mean, the way they've handled injuries, the way they manage player health and all those different things, they've been one of the best in the league at doing it. You got to think if there was any concern with Landon, he wouldn't be out there. And the fact that he could be out there, I feel pretty good about trusting the Eagles' decision with that, because if there was any risk for a longer-term injury, I don't think they would put him out there, even though we know Landon would be dogging him to be on that field.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. It's professional football. Brandon Graham shouldn't have been playing in the Super Bowl. He signed a waiver to play in the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, John, it's way different.
Yeah, but it's guys play through things. If you have a meniscus tear and you're getting a trim and not a repair, it's not the best thing for that individual, period.
Right.
End of sentence. So he had the trim so he could play this season. He's got that mentality.
Well, is there any risk of aggravation, like re-aggravation or something? Like I know you're right that they trimmed the meniscus, so it's already a problem. He might be getting surgery for it in the offseason, to be honest with you. But is there any risk of potentially messing up the rest of the season for Landon by playing tonight versus not playing tonight? I don't think so, because of the Eagles' approach.
Yeah, I think you're giving way too much credit to the Eagles. The Eagles are like everybody else from the standpoint of they want their good players on the field. Now, I'm not. Look, this isn't. If you're just talking it from a moral standpoint, you don't want to be behind an NFL team ever. Best, worst, ever. If you're just talking about people's health, you don't want to say, oh, they care about. No, they don't. No, they don't. I'm sorry. That's the ugly part of this industry.
Well, you're not wrong about that, but I do feel like
if Landon Dickerson was, and they just removed Holland Pierce from the practice squad yesterday. So if he was Kenyon Green and they didn't have any plans for him and he's on the back end of the roster, they'd probably get the meniscus repair. But he might be the best left guard in football. And And by the way, I'm not even sitting here and saying anybody is talking Landon into anything, because nobody's talking Landon into anything. He wants to play. I'm just saying, if you truly only had Landon Dickerson's health in mind and future in mind, you would not go this route with the meniscus trim. But that's football. So I'm not blaming the Eagles, but I'm also not going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, that's and Brandon's a perfect example. Yes, it's a Super Bowl, but if you only cared about somebody's health, you'd say, no, you're going to re-tear this thing. We love you. We're not going to allow you to do it. And of course, they made him sign a waiver on top of it.
Right.
So they're not, so Brandon doesn't want to wake up one day down the road and say that was fucked up. And the Eagles would be. So that's the ugly side of the industry. By no means are the Eagles different or worse than anybody else. They're probably better than most. I think if you frame it like that, I'll agree with you. But yeah, they're like, yeah, come on.
Good stuff. Well, the good news is, everybody, that everybody's going to be out there tonight with the exception of Tanner McKee. So we'll see how the Eagles open. John, what's your expectation for the offensive approach to the game tonight? I know you hate this question because you're always like, I want to see what the game was about. But if you had to pick, if you had to project forward, if you had to predict it, what do you think it will be? Do you think it'll be another ground and pound attack? I don't really think the Cowboys are built to stop that run game. It's almost like, until somebody proves they can stop Saquon, why not just go that route? But what do you think it's going to be tonight, or do you think they could throw the ball a little bit more than their average last year?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to last year. They threw it a lot early, and they'll probably throw it more than people want early this year because they're trying to evolve. And generally, that's been the history of the Eagles in the Nick Sirianni era. They try to do some things early, and then they scale it back to what they do well. So that's what I expect. That's what always happens. That's so yeah, I expect a little bit more early, and if it gets ugly, then they'll scale it back just like last year. But ultimately, over the long haul, yeah, they're gonna rely on Saquon Barkley until people stop them. But and I think you might see some more throwing because they want to prove they can throw the ball more consistently. They want it, and not only prove it, they want to get better at it. And you know, I know our buddy Mike Sealski wrote a column about Devontae Smith wanting the football. Everybody wants the football.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Right.
But Nick can't worry about that. Can't worry about statistics. So that was his best quote ever. It's like, I don't, that's for you to worry about. So I'm 100% on board with that. But that's been their history. And you go back to last year in Brazil and Green Bay, and they were throwing the ball a lot. And people are like, why are you throwing the ball?
Right.
Just they're trying to elevate that part of their offense. So I think you're going to see the same thing.
John, I got a great confidence in Kevin Patullo. The guy just seems grounded.
I told you you'd like him.
Yeah,
I told you.
Been around the organization for 4 years. I think he has a chance to be better than Kellen Moore. And I know Kellen was good last year, but remember, me and you had that discussion. Where
was he that good? Really?
That's what I mean. It's a weird conversation because they went to the Super Bowl and won it and dominated it, but Kellen was brought in to, make it a high-powered passing attack, and they ended up defaulting, to the run game, which worked. So there's no criticism of it. I can't criticize him for that, but I happen to think Kevin Patullo has a chance to really kind of advance that offense to the next level. That's no guarantee he does it in week one, but I do like where they are with Kevin Patullo, and I'm curious to see where he takes him this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only difference between Kellen Moore and Brian Johnson was the defense. That's it. And one guy got fired and one guy's a head coach. That's the reality of the NFL. So yeah, I don't think Kellen was bad by any stretch. I think he's a smart coach, and he took advantage of what he had, and he tried to do some things early to elevate, to do what he was brought in to do with the motion and the creativity and all that bullshit. He tried it. He brought in, they worked on it. It didn't work that well, and they scaled back to lean on the offensive line and Saquon Barkley. That's what good coaches do. I think Kevin's a good coach. I think he'll do the same thing. He'll try to incorporate more into it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you scale back to what works. I think it's the same thing as last year.
John, let's go inside the mind of the opponent for a second. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, I think the best thing for them, I've been saying it all week, has been that it's week one. But the other advantage here for them is that they have nothing to lose. Nobody is expecting them to win the game. It feels like everybody's written them off since they've traded Michael Parsons. And when you get a professional locker room, sometimes that's enough to just kind of play free and be like, fuck it, go out there and ball and do what we do. But if they are going to win the game, if the Cowboys were to try and shock the Eagles tonight, what do you think their approach would be to come into the game? Like if you're Schottenheimer, if you're Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, what are you trying to accomplish tonight early to set yourself up for success in the game?
Well, number one, they they obviously have to protect well, because the advantage they would have would be their playmakers against a revamped Eagles secondary, at least part of it. Obviously you're going to try to stay away from Quignon as much as possible. Cooper will be more in the middle of the field, so you're going to have to do some things against him, or try to do some things. But obviously we're talking about Adoree Jackson, Sidney Brown mainly, or perhaps Drew Makuba, whichever. You're trying to take advantage of those players with their playmakers. And number one, it comes with protection. Can they protect? And can they get a semblance of the running game? Because their running game doesn't look good on paper. I would say this ain't college. They're not shocking anybody if they win this game. They're not shocking the world. They might shock the world to fans, certain, this is the NFL.
You're right. It's a good take, because
this is not this is not Ohio State against,
Yeah, but I do think with the way the Cowboys have gone the last couple of years, and then topping it off with the Micah Parsons trade just a couple of weeks ago, I do feel like there's a general sense of the Cowboys aren't even trying to compete really this year. Now, I know you're right. It's professional football. It can go any way, but I think more people would be surprised than you're.
Well, I think a lot of fans would be surprised, but AJ already said, it's probably going to be closer than people think, because he hears that. He's hearing people think they're going to blow him off the field. A lot of people do. Dak Prescott wasn't playing last year. Micah's not even here, obviously, but all the injuries they had on the defensive side of the ball. They got Matt Eberflus. I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer's going to be, but I know Matt Eberflus is a good defensive coordinator. I know Nick thinks that. I know Kevin thinks that.
All right.
They're going to be better from that perspective. Are the Eagles more talented? Of course, they're more talented. But the difference between the first team and the 32nd team in the NFL is not as drastic as people think. It's about, I said, Eagles are the Eagles for the top 20 players they have. Everybody else, you can swap it out. The Cowboys might have better players. You can argue both ways in most games. So, yeah, clearly the Eagles are more talented at the top end of the roster. They're the champions. They should win. They're playing at home. They're favored by 8.5 points. But if anybody is shocked by an upset in this game, it's probably not going to be somebody in the industry, because it's the NFL. And I say it all the time. Everybody's got good players. You can talk yourself into things. CeeDee Lamb's running out there. George Pickens, Kevontae Turpin. Michael Klein can't stop talking. I don't think he sleeps when Turpin's on the schedule. Tyler Smith, all-pro guard. Tyler Guyton, I mentioned, is going to play. Tyler Booker, first-round pick. We'll see what he is.
I think this comes down to trenches, John. That Cowboys offensive line is not very good. At least I don't think it's very good. And they can't run the football. How are they going to beat this team? Now, maybe they come in and air it out, and they can take advantage of Adoree Jackson or whoever's out there on the corner, and Sidney Brown and whoever's back there at safety. And maybe, you have Pickens, you have Turpin, you have CeeDee Lamb. They have weapons, but if they can't block and get space for Dak, I don't think it's going to work out. But that's the only way I could see them really getting going, is if they can get an early lead or make the passing game work early and throw.
Well, everybody wants to play from the lead. Clearly, the Cowboys are going to be a pass-heavy team.
Oh, absolutely.
They do not have, Javonte Williams. I liked him coming out, but never really happened for him. They just do not have a good running game. I do think their offensive line has a chance to be better than people think. Not compared to what it used to be, because typically for many years they had one of the best offensive lines in football with Zach Martin and those guys. And Booker is an interesting prospect I've talked about a lot, because he's this big physical guy, but he tests poorly, but he plays well. So you have to see what he is at the NFL level. But Smith, that's that people don't like to give credit to the opposition. I get it. Not just in Philadelphia, everywhere. Like Smith's an all-pro guard, for those who don't know. Has been. You know, the second best defensive tackle in this game is on the Cowboys. You know, and that's Osa. I don't want to screw him, butcher his name.
Thinking Morrow's having a bigger year than
Osa. That is absurd.
All right.
That is freaking absurd. You're talking about a proven guy. And I'm not even saying that can't happen. Because again, it's the NFL.
John, I'm just being consistent. I told you I thought Morrow was going to have a big year. I got to be consistent, John.
And by the way, the third best one, if he gets up to speed, is probably Kenny Clark in this game. But he's not probably going to be up to speed with the Cowboys scheme and all that. So they do have good players. No, it's not Ohio State versus Illinois Wesleyan. They're not going to shock the world. They might shock
you. You've been picking on Illinois Wesleyan.
I know, I have. I have, because, I used to go to Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's good now. I can't make fun of them.
Right.
Because of their quarterback, that little kid from New Mexico State. Is he still there? I don't know, but they're good now.
I got to look. I know they beat us last year, which was pretty embarrassing. Johnny, that good stuff, man. Great opening segment. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here this morning. It's game day, everybody. You can feel the energy in the air. Anybody that's lived in this city, when the Eagles play, it's a different place, man. And if they win, it's a joyous place. And if they lose, you get honked at in traffic, people cutting you off. It's no good. So let's hope the Eagles get a win tonight. We're going to go to our – what's that?
That's going to happen anyway when people try to get down there today.
That's true.